Buying a motorcycle is a financial disaster by itself. Fortunately, this is a hobby, so we don't care how much it costs as long as it makes us happy. However, some decisions can hurt our wallet, especially if they don't bring the joy we expected. I'll tell you the story of my experience buying a cheap motorcycle and why I will never do it again. A few years ago, I came across a motorcycle that I thought was a great opportunity. The bike was good technically. The previous owner had started a street fighter project, removing the fairings and fitting flat handlebars. Buying it for $700 seemed like a gift, especially after watching a few videos on YouTube of people fixing up bikes that were considered junk. I thought I could easily bring this bike back to factory condition. Oh, how wrong I was! The first challenge was finding parts for such an old bike. It was a 1990 model, and I didn't want to buy a donor bike because I thought the fairings were just some pieces of plastic. So, I bought parts piece by piece from about 10 countries. Mistake number one was not buying everything at once because it seemed too expensive to spend $600 on fairings. Piece by piece, $50, $60, $100, the amount slowly piled up. I didn't even know there were so many different fairing parts on one bike. In the end, the fairings cost me almost $800. Once I gathered the parts, it was time to paint. Oh, I can't even say how expensive that was. I'll just say it was expensive, and I'll write the amount on the screen. Oh, and the entire bike had to be painted because even the parts that were intact had different shades. Along with painting the fairings, it was time to work on the rims, and as I was removing them, I checked the date on the tires. Boom! The tires were 10 years old. The bike didn't run all the time I was working on the fairings. It took a few months, and then when I tried to start it, first I realized the battery was dead. When I changed the battery, I found out the carburetors were bad. The carburetors were great compared to the fuel pump, and the fuel pump was bad because of rust in the tank. A few $100s less, and I finally had a bike ready for the road. No, when I put everything together, I realized there were some issues with the electronics. The dashboard didn't work properly, and neither did the lights. Instead of taking it to a mechanic, I decided to fix it myself to save money, thinking I had already spent too much on the bike and ended up destroying the regulator. To cut the story short, I took the bike to a mechanic, told him not to call me until he did everything that needed to be done, and went home. Fortunately, he only replaced the regulator and fixed a few connections, and I brought the bike home. On a trailer because it wasn't registered yet. The first thing I did when I finally had a functional and road-ready bike in the garage after all this time and expense was put it up for sale. Simply, I got tired of all the hassle. I sold it and lost pretty good money on it. The point of the story is not to discourage you from getting an old bike, but to caution against buying a bike in poor condition. I'll be getting a Yamaha Super Tenere 750 as soon as the opportunity arises. She is 35 years old, but I want that. But I will wait good one. However, if you don't have enough money to buy a good bike, wait. Buy later, so you won't regret it. Like and subscribe, so one day I can recover from this loss.